Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my November reading wrap up. I cannot believe we only have 1 month left of the year. Like, that is absolutely insane, but I'm so ready for this year to be over, to be honest, and I'm so ready to start 2025. I feel like I've got so many exciting things planned for next year, and so I literally cannot wait. Before I get into my wrap up and into the statistics and stuff like that, I thought that I would give you guys a little life update. I did not really read much this month, or I didn't read as much as I wanted to, because I have just been in like a life rut, a life slump, to be honest. It's not even just like a reading slump, it's literally just in life in general. I found out a lot of things during the month that I was not expecting at all, and I'll briefly talk about them here. I actually talk about them more in a vlog that will be coming up on my channel, just because I was kind of talking about things as I was finding them out. Pretty much, I have been in a lot of pain for like the past probably like 5 to 6 weeks now in my lower stomach, and I've also had like symptoms for years, and I've just kind of been like ignored by doctors. And anyway, I decided to push to get checked and push to get an ultrasound, and turns out I have a 12, almost 13 centimeter cyst on one of my ovaries. And so I've been in quite a lot of pain, and like the cyst that it is caused by endometriosis apparently. So yeah, most likely gonna have to get surgery and stuff for that. So it's just a lot going on at the moment. I've been like at the hospital a couple of times, like I need to get more tests during December as well, and I'm just like, it's just very, very stressful. And so I haven't really been able to sit down and relax and read, at least in the second half of the month. So yeah, most of the books I read were literally in the first part of the month, because as I just said, I literally could not relax after I found out all of this stuff. Anyway, now that I've overshared a little bit and given you guys a life update, I will get into the statistics for the books that I read in November. I do this every single month, and I feel like it's one of my favorite parts of my wrap up videos. So in November, I read a total of 12 books, but more than half of those books were actually novellas, which I will obviously get into. I had 2 DNFs this month, and I actually have the physical books here as well. I DNF'd The Haunting by Natasha Preston because it was so boring and the characters were just so infuriating, to be honest, to the point where I just could not read them anymore. So I did DNF this at like 30% of the way through, I believe. And then my other DNF for the month was End of Story by AJ Finn. This is actually the ARC edition. I've had this on my shelves for like over a year now, and it was actually like my choice for my works book club, and it actually won. And I don't think one single person enjoyed this book or actually finished this book, to be honest, which is a bit embarrassing because like it was my pick. But this was just so boring. I was actually listening to it as an audiobook and I had no idea what was going on. It was just really, really hard to keep track of. Like, there was a lot of characters, and I just found myself kind of being like, who are we even following right now? And so I was just like, it's better off if I just DNF this book. So they were my 2 DNFs of the month. I'm definitely going to unhaul these now as well. Out of the month, I read a total of 2,213 pages, which is a lot less than usual. I think last month I read in like the 5,000s, which is crazy. And my average rating was actually exactly 4 stars, which is kind of crazy. I've never had like an exact average before. Now on to the genre breakdown. Out of the books I read 7 romance books, 2 fantasy books, 1 non-fiction book, and 2 thriller books. So now that we have gone through all of the statistics and the genre breakdown, I can get into the books I read in absolutely no particular order. So let's get into it. The first book that I read in the month of November was actually The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. I feel like everyone already knows this book. Everyone knows this series, they know the movie series, but I still won't give any spoilers just in case. I actually have read this book previously. I believe I read this book and possibly the second book when I was like in primary school or maybe like early high school, but I honestly didn't really remember much about it, to be honest. And I'm so glad that I reread this because there is just so many details that are left out of the movies and so many things that are like slightly different to the movie as well. And I feel like that's what you get when movie franchises are made of a book, but I just kind of wasn't expecting it because I didn't really pick up those things the first time that I read this, or at least I didn't remember them because I did read it such a long time ago. But I am reading this because I want to finish this whole entire series before the new book comes out next year. I believe it comes out like towards the end of March, and I'm actually going over to the US on a holiday in the end of March to like early April, and I already know that I'm going to read the new book in this series like on the airplane because I feel like that'll be such a fun read. And yeah, I really, really loved this. Of course, there was nothing I could fault about it. And I just like love reading books that have movies, to be honest, because I feel like the whole time I could just see the movie in my head, and I really, really liked that. So I actually ended up giving this one 5 stars. The next book I read was Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I actually read this for a vlog, but as I said, I've been in like a life slump, so that vlog is not up yet and it's not finished. I'm assuming it'll be out like mid-December, to be honest. I actually really, really enjoyed this. This one is a romantasy, but there honestly is not much romance in this book. I believe like the romance becomes more prevalent throughout the rest of the series. I think there's like 3 books in this series so far, but in this book we are following DM, and she is like a healer, and her mother is like sort of the leaders of the healers in this world, but her mother is currently missing. And in this world there is mortals, which is just like the normal humans, which is what DM and her mother are, and then there is the descended, which are like the powerful people. They have powers, they kind of like control this world that they live in. And in this book, DM ends up becoming a healer for the descended people, but she's kind of going in there with like different intentions. But that's all I'm going to tell you about this book. I actually really, really liked this, and I ended up giving it 4 stars, but I definitely feel like the rest of the series will be a lot better, and I will probably end up giving them 5 stars. We'll have to see. I'm also like intimidated though, because I believe the 3rd book in this series is like over 1,000 pages, and books like that kind of just scare me. The next book I read was also part of that vlog that is not up yet, and that is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This is just a cutesy little romance, and I honestly thought that this would help to get me out of my slump, but unfortunately it didn't. I just don't think anything can at the moment. I'm actually currently reading the 2nd book in the Hunger Games series, and even that can't get me out of my slump. So I think it's just like, as I said, a life slump. This is like the 3rd time I've mentioned it now. I feel like a broken record. But anyway, this book is following Hannah and Jack. Hannah is actually the bodyguard. So she is meant to be a bodyguard for like celebrities and actors and all of this stuff, but she's supposed to be more undercover. So she'll act as like their girlfriend, but like be a bodyguard at the same time, but no one in the public knows that. And it also says like at the back of the book that she's a kindergarten teacher, but honestly, I don't even think that was mentioned in the book. I don't remember any mention of her other job, only her bodyguard job. So she becomes a bodyguard for this famous actor called Jack, and we love Jack in this book. He is such a great book boyfriend. He is such a great character, and the reason that she's a bodyguard for him is because he has this like really crazy corgi breeding stalker. That's what it says at the back of the book. And yeah, this book was really, really fun. It was really funny, but I also really, really liked it because it kind of felt realistic at the same time. I did give this one 4 stars as well, and I'm very excited to read some more books from Catherine Center. Now, this is the last book that I actually have a physical copy for. I read Gutter Glitter by Kirsten Moore, and this is actually a memoir, and she actually sent it to me. So I was very excited to read this, and I also feel like I read this at the perfect time because this book talks a lot about physical health issues, and it also talks a lot about mental health issues. And I was actually reading this as I was finding out all of this stuff in my personal life as well. So I feel like I just related to this on a lot of a deeper level as well. And this book is also set in, I'm acting like it's literally a fiction book. It's a non-fiction book, but she grew up in Melbourne, and she kind of grew up close to where I grew up as well. So I feel like I just felt so connected to this book because I was reading it and I was like, well, I know what that place is, and like I've been there, and I really, really liked it for that reason. And it also made me feel so many different emotions, and I love a book that makes me feel like that. The only thing is I do not rate memoirs. It is not based on anything with the writing or anything like that. It's just because I don't like reading people's stories. So I did not give this book a rating, but I really, really enjoyed it. Now on to some of the books that I read that I don't have physical copies for. The first series that I read is the Improbable Meet Cute series, I believe, and it's a series of novellas, and they're all set on Valentine's Day, and they're all written by different authors. I believe they were released at the start of this year or the start of last year around Valentine's Day, but I was just like very late to the game of reading them, and one night I just decided to pick them all up. So I'm going to give a little like brief synopsis of each of them and tell you guys what I rated them. But I just loved this so much because I actually sat there and read all 6 novellas in one sitting, and I love that like so many popular authors are part of this as well, because I was like excited to read like specific authors' novellas a lot more. So the first one is called The Exception to the Rule, and that one is by Christina Lauren. In this one, it is following a boy and girl who actually exchange emails to each other sort of by accident at the start of the book, and then for 10 years they're exchanging emails back and forth, but they never actually meet. And then there's a little meet cute at the end of the book. that's the whole point of this series. Like they kind of meet in like really weird ways, but like really cute ways at the same time. So I actually loved this one. I ended up giving this one 5 stars, but like it's a novella, so there's not much to it. You can't really expect much out of a novella. The second one was Worst Wingman Ever, and that one is by Abby Jimenez. So of course I knew I was going to eat it up from the beginning. In this one, the guy in the story accidentally leaves a sex coupon for his brother, but he doesn't leave it on his brother's girlfriend's car. He actually accidentally leaves it on this girl's car that we're following in the story. And then he kind of like starts leaving her notes every time that he sees her car in public. And she also like leaves notes for him on her car as well. And this one was so incredibly cute. Like I just like loved this one. I found myself like literally giggling and kicking my feet, but also there was a lot of like deeper elements to this one that I really liked, because honestly like it's hard to show so many emotions in a novella, but I found myself like almost crying in this one. So I gave this one 4.5 stars. The next one is Rosie and the Dreamboat by Sally Thorne. This one was kind of weird, but I also ate it up at the same time. In this book, this girl, she goes to like this spa with like her friend or her sister, I believe, and it's like a Galentine's Day type situation, and they go into this like enclosed spa machine. I don't know exactly what they're called, but she ends up getting stuck in it, and then this really hot firefighter saves her. And that's the whole book. So it was like such a weird one, because like it's not really something that would happen in real life, but I still really enjoyed it. So I gave that one 4 stars. The next one was called Drop, Cover and Hold On by Jasmine Guillory. In this one, she goes to a cafe very frequently, like every single day, but she thinks that the guy working there hates her, until one day like this earthquake happens and they end up getting trapped in this cafe together. And then like he confesses his love for her, and she realizes that he's actually wanted her the whole entire time. So I gave that one 4.5 stars as well. Whew, 2 more to go. We have With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. As I said, there is like so many amazing authors that have like come together and made this little series, which I love. It kind of like went more downhill as I went though, because this one I gave 3.5 stars. This one kind of reminded me of the movie Just My Luck with Lindsay Lohan in it. Yeah, I just didn't really like this one. I honestly don't really remember much about this one. And the last one was Royal Valentine by Soraya Wilson. This one was the one I liked the least of all, to be honest. It kind of just felt, I don't know, there just wasn't really much to it, to be honest. In this one, it is about a princess who switches places with her PR manager so she can like stay in Italy, I believe it was, for like an extra holiday, but she kind of has to sort of stay undercover as well so people don't recognize her. It was kind of like Emily in Paris vibes, but like in Rome, but also the characters in this one were just quite annoying. So I just didn't really like this one that much. Overall, I loved this little series. I highly recommend. And I believe there's like a Christmas version of these little novellas coming out, or they've just come out like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm definitely going to read all of them in December because I'm very excited, and there's some great authors in the lineup of those books as well. Anyway, to continue, I have another 2 books to talk about that I read in November. The next one is That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. This is a thriller, and I really liked this book. I actually listened to this one as an audiobook, and this one like literally kept me on the edge of my seat. I believe I listened to the audiobook in like under 48 hours. Like I listened to it very quickly because I could not put it down, and I actually found myself reading some of it on my Kindle as well, so I could get through it quicker, so I would know what the ending of the book was going to be. So this one is about a teenage girl, and she wakes up on the side of the road and has no recollection of who she is. She doesn't know how she got there, and she ends up going to a police station or getting picked up by a policeman. I don't exactly remember, but soon after she goes to the police station and they're trying to figure out who she is, this man comes and like proves that he's her father and takes her home, and she's kind of just like confused because she's having memories of her life, but they've got nothing to do with this guy. Like she still doesn't know who this guy is that has taken her. And at the same time as that, we're in the point of view of this guy whose girlfriend went missing, who's around the same age, like same sort of characteristics, same situation of how she went missing. And this boyfriend is trying to like prove his innocence because he didn't do anything to this girlfriend of his that went missing, but everyone blames him for it. So we're kind of in that point of view, and then we're in the point of view of this girl that's with this guy that's missing. That's all I'm going to tell you because I don't want to spoil anything about this book, but this was so well put together. Like I feel like I haven't had a thriller like this where I've just been so invested in what was going to happen in such a long time. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I'd probably honestly bump it up to a 4.5 though. I actually really enjoyed this, as I've said like 6 times now. And then the last book I read in the month was another novella, and that was The Housemaid's Wedding by Frida McFadden. This is a little novella that I believe comes between the second and third book in the Housemaid trilogy, but honestly, I just don't really think this novella was necessary. I honestly did not enjoy this whatsoever. I gave it 3 stars, and that was honestly kind of pushing it a little bit. I honestly just didn't see a point of her writing this book. Sometimes I feel like authors just write books in like a popular series of theirs to kind of just, it's like a bit of a money grab. Like, I don't know, I just felt like that in this situation, and so I didn't really like this at all. But yeah, that was the last book that I read in November, so that was the 12 books / novellas that I read in the month. I feel like I've said this every month for the past few months now, but hopefully I have a better reading month in December. I do have quite a few books on my radar that I really want to get to, but it depends if I get out of this reading life slump that I'm in. If you have any tips on how I can get out of that, please let me know, because I'd love to know. But with all of that being said, I do not want to ramble on too much, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like and stay and subscribe to my channel if you want to see some more content from me. But I will see you guys in my next one.